Our Heavenly Father, we just thank you for your word, and we thank you for this time together to study it. We ask that as we look at the books of Song of Songs and Ruth, that we might be guided by your Holy Spirit, that we might be able to see the truths that are in there, and help us to go deeper into your word today. Be with Julie and Tim as they guide and teach us through this time. Amen.
Amen.
No, I was still listening to you. I just realised I didn't bring my tablet in, so I'll go and get a bite.
That's fine. So the plan today is to have a look at some background to each of these books, like just from background from the law, and then talk about them. So we'll go through some of the songs first, and then we'll have a look at Ruth, and yeah, if you have things that you want to discuss, please bring them up. Because yeah, I mean, I might direct the conversation and you might not get to ask what you want. And so please, yeah, if you have questions, definitely ask. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is just have a look at the next slide. There it is. It is going to the next slide. We're going to have a look at Genesis chapter 1 verses 26 to 28 and chapter 2 verses 18 to 25. Just so that we can get a background to some songs. Yeah. So I think we'll read it all together. I mean, these should be fairly familiar to us, given that it's just the first chapters of Genesis. So I'm hoping that we won't need to spend too much time here, but I think it's worth looking at. And plus, this is part of your homework at the end, and the questions at the end of the chapter, to have a look at this. So, you know, I thought that I'd help you out. So someone like to read just Genesis chapter 1, verses 26 to 28, and then someone else read chapter 2, 18 to 25.
I'll do 1, 26, 28.
Mm-hmm.
Then God said, let us make mankind in our image, in our likeness, so that they may rule over the fish in the sea and the birds in the sky, over the livestock and all the wild animals, and over all the creatures that move along the ground. So God created mankind in his own image. In the image of God, he created them. Male and female, he created them. God blessed them and said to them, be fruitful and increase in number, fill the earth and subdue it, rule over the fish in the sea and the birds in the sky, and over every living creature that moves on the ground.
Okay. And someone want to read chapter 2, verse 18 to 25?
Yep, and read 2, 18 to 25. Then the Lord God said, it is not good that the man should be alone. I will make him a helper fit for him. Now out of the ground the Lord God had formed every beast of the field and every bird of the heavens and brought them to the man to see what he would call them. And whatever the man called every living creature, that was its name. The man gave names to all livestock and to the birds of the heavens and to every beast of the field. But for Adam there was not found a helper fit for him. So the Lord God caused a deep sleep to fall upon the man, and while he slept took one of his ribs and closed up its place with flesh. And the rib that the Lord God had taken from the man he made into a woman and brought her to the man. Then the man said, this at last is bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman, because she was taken out of man. Therefore a man shall leave his father and his mother and hold fast to his wife, and they shall become one flesh. And the man and his wife were both naked and were not ashamed.
Can I just note that in that last in that second last verse where it says he would be joined or hold fast, same word for cling, which we will talk again about in Ruth. So just think about that word as well in there. Okay. So what do we learn about the nature of marriage and God's purpose for marriage at the beginning?
Well, God's intended
Mhm.
for man and woman to be united or cling
Mhm.
to each other.
Mhm.
They expect that as a relationship that
Yep.
does.
Mhm. Yep.
God says that it is good.
Yep. Yep.
They could, looking at the last verse, they could see each other. They were naked, so there was no prudeness about their use that word.
Mhm.
They weren't prudish or anything like that.
No.
That's how they were, naked and
Unashamed, naked and
Yeah,
unashamed.
unashamed, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
In the beginning, God chooses to do it because it's not good for men to be alone. So there's
Mhm.
that need for
Yeah.
relationship.
Yeah. And also, what do we like? What's God's purpose for mankind in general?
Union with him.
Mm-hmm. Yep. But in the
And-
Genesis the chapter 1 reading, he created them in his image, and then he gives them dominion.
Yeah.
And to be fruitful and multiply.
Yeah.
And so that's the task that he's given them can't be accomplished on their own. Adam can't do it by himself. He needs a counterpart to do that with him. So marriage is also a way that God intends for the purposes of his creation to be fulfilled. So it's not just about them finding someone else. It's to bring about the purposes of creation.
That's the love between a man and woman supposed to reflect the love between
Mhm.
God and man, or God.
Yeah, I mean, and I think if we think about like our understanding of the relationship between men and women is very tied up in our understanding of the Trinity. And so whatever we understand about the Trinity, that is what's reflected in our understanding of relationship between men and women. And that nature is man, woman, and God all together. But yeah, so we are created to reflect God's image. And so therefore, he's not just one type. There's a duality. There's a union to reflect God's image.
And in a wedding service, it says that three strands, stronger than two. So that's including God in that relationship.
Yeah. Okay, and so obviously, we're not going to go to Genesis chapter 3, but how does sin affect the marriage relationship?
In a negative way.
Yeah.
Very, very negative.
Yeah.
So it must impede the loving relationship. Stops
Yeah.
that from happening.
Yeah. So that there's a like a break in all the ways that they're meant to be completely united. They're now not. And so instead of working together as like two individuals with a common purpose, they're going to be working against each other in terms of their relationship. Even being fruitful and multiplying is going to be tricky because there's going to be all sorts of different things that are going to come up to make childbirth and childbearing difficult. And that includes sexual relationship issues. So sin is going to affect everything. So my question is, when we get to Song of Songs, which is a celebration of marriage and even a celebration of sex, how are the ideals of God's original purpose reflected in Song of Songs?
Well, there's two.
or are they?
It's either it's a reflection of the God for Israel or Christ for the church. That was in the reading.
Mhm.
So I'm assuming that's one of the ideals is Christ's love for the church is
Yep.
reflected in Song of Songs.
Mhm.
And also that ideal of the two of them having no vision for anybody else other than each other.
Mm. Yeah, there's this picture, isn't there, in Song of Songs, where they only have eyes for each other. The rest of the world seems to just fade out of existence when they're together. Yeah.
I liked in the readings where it said, you know, we're looking in from the outside and you kind of feel like an interloper
Mm.
into this, you know, very true relationship.
Yeah.
But I assume it's also like, you know, when people first fall in love, it's
Mhm.
that relationship that is sustained throughout the whole Song of Songs, and that doesn't change. You know?
Mm.
It's not like they get tired of each other, or not the Song of Songs, right?
No.
It's the actual in love process that's reflected entirely.
Yeah. I think that we also see that in Song of Songs there's a mutuality, that they both working to the same goal. They both love each other to the same, like, you know, they're really equal in their united nature. They're like, she is like with all of her heart and soul and mind is into him, and he is the same with her. Like there isn't this vying for who's the boss, who's in charge. Like they're just both so given over to each other that yeah, they reflect a real unity of and selflessness as well. Like there isn't the what Genesis chapter 3 tells us, you know, your desire will be for your husband. Like there isn't that. Yeah, it's their desire is for each other.
Song that comes to mind is "I Only Have Eyes for You."
So it's actually before the fall.
Yeah.
Relationship.
Yes. So yeah, like my yeah, I think that yeah, the idea is that there's these mutual reciprocity that is a pre-fall ideal that is demonstrated in this picture that we get in the poem. And it definitely promotes a high view of women because she initiates, she like there isn't a she's seen as less or that he is abusing her. Like there is this real elevation of her desires and her needs and her wants are all involved in here as well. Yeah, so that is unusual in poetry of that time, especially erotic poetry.
I haven't read much of the other.
No, I haven't really either. But apparently, according to according to other teachers that have read more into those, that isn't the way. Yeah. Okay. So we'll have a little look at the structure. So it is as a like a chiasm in that it is parallel and there is a center, but it's not like a usual chiasm will just be the absolute reverse of the other, whereas there's two middle sections there. From chapter 3 to 4 and chapter 5 to 6, they parallel each other in the way that they look. So that, I mean, this is just the way one particular person has structured it, which I found quite compelling. There are a few others that structure it more like a chiasm, but I think this actually takes those dream sequences into consideration in where they are in the chapters, because you don't get the absolute reverse in 5 to 6 of 3 to 4. Like, yeah. So, but there is a definite pattern to the story, and it is a story. And there are quite a few commentators that say they're married all the way through. But I actually think it's more that they're at the beginning is about desire, and then in the middle is consummation, and then at the end we get like resolution or peace, like this, ready to live together and be bound together in their relationship, to then go and be fruitful and multiply and subdue the, like, you know, have dominion. So you get this picture of this couple who start with desire. The middle is literally the climax. And then it kind of resolves back. But so while there's this picture of Edenic beauty and idealism, those dream sequences show us that we're still in the world, that there's still problems in the relationship. So we can definitely see in the way that it's structured that there is a story, but it's not always easy to see who's talking. Like our Bibles sometimes say man or woman, but sometimes they don't actually get it right. Like it seems like, actually, no, the man can't be saying that. That's got to be the woman. So, like, yeah, it's really tricky to work out who's saying what and who's speaking
In
where.
my Bible,
And
he or she. would-
Yeah.
this has got the he or she, and it's also got the friends, because it's a
Yeah.
plural thing. We
Mm.
rejoice and delight. Yes.
Or are you saying those aren't necessarily carved in stone? They could.
No,
That's
yeah,
what
because
people-
that's not part of, like, the he and the she, that's added in.
Yes.
That's actually not part of the original text. And so that's the Bible translators trying to work out where the he and she is. And that's not necessarily the same for every translation. So some translators have her saying things that other translators have him saying, or vice versa. Like, so it's not necessarily clear who's saying what at the time.
And which one do we like though? NIV, or does it matter? It's all the same. There's not one.
Well, I don't know that there's, I don't know, what do you think, Tim? Is there anything that you?
It depends which version of the edition of the NIV it is too.
ESV probably usually the translators it depends on the translations are usually reflections of the aim of the translator. So ESV, for example, will try to go for more of a literal translation, but still readable. NIV will try and find a mix between both, like if literal's here and just conceptual's here. NIV tries to go in the middle, and whereas you've got something like a message, and that will be like completely on conceptual. So yeah.
Okay, and just looked up here, any scripture, so there's bits of scripture here taken from NIV. But you've got the 73, 78 and 84 editions, and this was printed how long ago?
Yeah, these books, I mean, I think they're printed recently, but
But
I
they
don't
haven't been
think that
updated.
it's been updated for quite some time, probably at least 20 years.
Because that we had the
The notes have a sort of a footer that says they've been updated more recently, but maybe
Yeah,
not.
but I don't know that they've actually revised the content.
revised it. I mean,
They might have updated a little bit,
Yeah.
but
yes, certainly not the last few pages where the sample examination paper is.
No.
Yeah.
so there is this idea that a picture is being painted of Eden. So where do we get these ideas? What things in the text give us a picture of that there is a an Edenic ideal being promoted in the song. Think about the language.
Yes, I'm
that's
just
being
looking at
used.
this one. When it's she, it says, like an apple tree among the trees of the forest is my beloved among the young men, idealising, saying how wonderful
Mhm.
he is.
Yeah.
Uh,
We're talking about Solomon by any chance?
Sorry.
Solomon as an ideal or?
no, no, because
Well,
it's
I
only
mean-
one.
Yeah.
Ideal's not quite.
The notes talk about Solomonic authorship. I think that we can probably agree that it was Solomon that wrote it. And whether he's the subject, like, or whether he just comes in as, I think he's probably reflecting more on a Davidic relationship,
Right.
because he talks about like Solomon was never really a shepherd, whereas
No.
David was. So maybe he's thinking in the background that kind of thing. But it does seem like the wedding, it's the king that comes. That
Yeah.
it's his wedding, and he calls the bride into his carriage when it comes up. So it's like the shepherd boy becomes the king, or some people, some Jewish traditions have it that he's like this shepherd boy in secret, but he's really the king, and then he comes and shows who he is.
Like fairy tale.
Like a fairy tale, like the
Yeah.
the Prince and the Pauper or whatever, like. Yeah,
Whereas the notes seem to describe it as like a dream sequence, and
Yeah.
this is kind of her
that's
way
the dream.
of seeing her
Yeah,
husband, her new, husband to be
Yeah.
as kind of like
he's
the
the
most
king.
ideal person, the
Mm.
king,
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, and that's that we do have an idea that there's some dream sequences, but it's not clear
Mm.
how long the sequences go for.
Right.
I think the dream sequences are both reasonably short, and they are contained in the, where she looks and then the watchmen find her. And those are the dream sequences. So the Solomon coming up out of the desert is not necessarily part of the dream sequence. I think maybe that's actually the wedding party's arrived. This is the wedding. And
But in her imagination, it's the king that's arrived. It's not really. It
well,
arrives at her wedding, the wedding of the
yeah,
shepherd.
is the shepherd the king? Like, there's this, it's ambiguous.
Yeah, yeah.
The idea of
Okay.
fairy tale, I think, makes sense because it's more of an idealized.
Yeah, because it is idealized, and it
Yeah.
is like this idea that it's a bit like a fairy tale, that the shepherd boy is actually the king.
Right, okay.
Yeah, the common man is the king, and he takes this common girl and she becomes the queen. So there's that picture there as well. Like, I mean, where do we get fairy stories from? Like, these
Yeah.
ideas
Yeah.
are there. And if we think about, I'll talk about that later, but if we think about Jesus, he came as a human,
Mm.
but he's the king. And he's going to come for his bride. So yeah, if we want to go in that direction, which I think the text allows us to, but doesn't. It's not the central theme of the text. I think there's a big there's a big push in our notes to not allegorize. Because back in the 80s, when this was first written, all of the interpretations were allegorized.
Yeah.
And to do biblical theology and try and look at the text as itself was different. It was not part of. So I think there was a big push to like keep that out of our understanding, and let's just look at the text and what does it say. But I think that more modern scholarship, and especially in the evangelical world, biblical theology is actually more common. And so I think that they have opened up more to other different interpretations, which we'll talk about in a minute. Yeah, so that leaves it open for those kind of thoughts.
Yeah.
Because I mean, it's wisdom literature, so it's not just about one thing. Like, it's for us to meditate on and think, oh, yeah, it looks like it's talking about sex, but also it's talking about this. And, oh, you know, what about this? There's these images and pictures that all come to mind that build up a picture that we can think about, and we can think about it on many levels. Yeah. But if we think about the language, it talks about sex quite explicitly, but not gross, like, and not medical language and not crass language, but beautiful pictures of, well, Edenic pictures, because what are the themes? It's garden. It's all about the garden, isn't it?
Yes.
And so the ideal picture comes together in this garden. And the very center of the poem, where the bride and the groom finally, you know, we see is when they've just been married, she says, come into my garden, like that is this invitation. And it's not gross and it's not crass, but it, you know, it's full of biblical pictures of delight and goodness. Yeah. Any thoughts? I thought we'd just have a look, because I want to push the the Eden images. So if we look at Genesis 3:16, which we didn't look at before, when we were talking about the fall, I'll just read it. To the woman he said, I will surely multiply your pain in childbearing. In pain you shall bring forth children. Your desire shall be contrary to your husband, but he shall rule over you. That's the ESV version.
Yeah.
Genesis, Song of Songs, chapter 7, verse 10. This is near the end. And what does she say here? I'm my beloved, and his desire is for me. So there's this overturning of the language of Genesis chapter 3, where instead of her having a desire for her husband, his desire is for her. So there's a change of the way that it's formulated.
But is this what it initially was in Genesis before the fall? That's what it was, but
yes.
but the 3:16, is that after the fall?
Yes.
Okay, so
So 3:16 is after the fall, and so what I'm trying to say is, how does 7:10 in Song of Songs help us think again in this idea that there's an idealized relationship?
This is the intent of
The intent, yeah, is a reversal of the fall. Okay, so question, to what extent does Song of Songs show a reversal of the fall?
Well, it says here in that verse 7:10, I belong to my beloved. So there was, but in the sense that she's happy to belong, and she knows his desire is for her.
Yeah.
So it's sort of a mutual, I guess, relationship. So they're both coming from it in a positive way.
Yeah. Yep.
And that in Genesis, he will rule over you is a very strong, dominant sort of a situation.
It's not a loving word.
No.
No. Whereas here, it's very much, as you said before, it's two equals coming together. So there's none of this ruling over the other one.
No.
they're on equal footing again, as they were before the fall.
Yeah. What are some other pictures in the Song of Songs that also give us this idea that it's idealizing a pre-fall condition?
Just the goodness,
Well,
Yeah.
whole relationship.
and they're showing they're in the garden as well. They're talking about being
Yeah, garden, yeah. And the unashamedness of their nakedness. Like, you know, they're talking to each other, delighting in each other's bodies, describing each other's bodies in quite detail, in images that we don't really relate to, but yeah, there's a naked yet unashamed idea. Yeah, there's a few pictures of doves, so like that innocence again. All of those pictures of land, seed, and blessing are all intermingled in this whole song, aren't they? And yeah, the idea of fruitfulness, like all the animals in the song are all,
Yeah.
you know, very fruitful, like they're happy little fruitful animals, and all the trees are
Trees,
fruitful, and
Pomegranates
you know,
bloom,
um,
Yeah.
yeah,
it's just this
Yeah.
image of perfection.
except there's a couple of problems, right? Is there going to be grapes? Are there foxes? So it points to a pre-fall state, but recognizes that, yeah, there are issues in this world.
You might get to this, so feel free to put
No,
this
go.
question on hold if we come to it. But to what extent is Song of Songs instructive in terms of, because it paints a beautiful picture, and a lot of it pre-fall, but at the same time, because it recognizes the fall and the effects of the fall, like how much of it is instructive in terms of how you know, relate to a spouse, or
Yeah,
obviously not in the
great question.
specifics, but like in that general picture.
Well, I mean, back, well, I don't know, like 10, 15 years, there was a particular author who took the language of Song of Songs and said it was very instructive for our sex life. I'm not sure that that's the point of it. I think that it is instructive in that it tells us that sex within the boundaries of marriage is actually really good and ought to be delighted in. I don't think it's a manual.
But it's sort of what your attitude should be toward it, and you're supposed to be giving to each other.
Yeah.
You know, it's not one man or one person over the other person.
Yeah.
And it's expected to happen in that relationship. So
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that it's a very physical picture. There, you know, like I've been reading a few things, and you know, someone commented, why doesn't he talk about her intellect and her, you know, like they're just talking about each other's bodies. And I think that's the point, is that all those other things don't matter in this moment, because this is about sex. It's not about, you know, read Proverbs 31 if you want to know all about the rest of the good qualities of this woman. Like, you know. Yeah, so I think that, you know, it is a picture of a sexual relationship, and so therefore the pictures are very physical, like, and they describe each other's physicality. They don't say, oh, I admire her inquiring mind and her patience and her, you know, her good words. It's all about bodies. So there is an element that it definitely is about sex, and yeah, I don't think that means it's a manual.
No, I was reminded at some stage when I was at uni, the Kama Sutra was one of those things that, yeah, that was talked about. I didn't get a copy of it. We also had the little red book from China. So, you know, there were quite a few things that were discussed. And one was full of sex and the other one was full of, I don't know, what the Chinese thing was, something to do with
communism, yeah.
It's
communism.
yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
I read that one.
You're good, aren't you? Are you still with us? Yes.
yeah.
I think I was too busy with my studies. No.
Yeah, so so there, yeah, so there's this idea that there's this picture of of the beauty of the marriage relationship. But again, we get this picture that it's not all perfect because there are these couple of dream sequences that, yeah, are a little bit confusing and and disconcerting because she loses him. She can't find him.
Is that supposed to impose some sort of realism to the
Maybe,
story?
yeah.
I mean,
Or I
we
mean,
do have
it's a poem,
nightmares.
so it's an expression of also fears of like people's fears in relationships. Like I guess one of the biggest fears when you're in a relationship is losing the person. Like,
and if it is all about Solomon, he really wasn't faithful to his first wife, or his second, or third, or fourth, or fifth, sixth.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So,
yeah. So, is Song of Songs sensual poetry? Is it allegory? Why is it included in wisdom literature?
Nowhere else to put it.
Too hard.
in it too hard.
Well, it's
I mean, the fact that it's there, obviously it's there for a purpose.
Mhm.
And is it there to reflect God's love for us?
Mhm.
And to perhaps learn from that.
Or Christ's love for the church.
Oh, Christ's love.
God's love for Israel.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you want to cover all your bases, you do the James Hamilton approach: biblical theology, theological, allegorical, Christological interpretation. So that covers all the bases.
Yeah,
So I think either it could be.
yeah.
Potentially.
Yeah, it's not.
And you might read it in different ways, at different times. And
There we go. I'm back. And my little. Well, why can't it be both? Sorry, I have a Spanish background. But the Bible is often yes and so yes, I think there's a big push in our notes to say don't go the allegorical path, because I think that does diminish some of the actual reading of the text as it is. But it's wisdom literature, so we're meant to think about it and reflect on it and go, okay, so what does this tell me about God and his relationship with his people? What does it point to with Christ and the church?
When it was written, what was the purpose
Mm.
and why was it included in the
Mm.
Jewish Bible? Because they would if you're doing song of songs out of Isaiah, and they point to Christ.
Mhm.
'Cause I don't see anything in here pointing to Christ at all. Maybe I'm thick.
Well, let me give you a couple of quotes.
Mhm.
Solomon intends to tie the longing of the bride for her beloved with the longing of God's people for himself. So
Okay,
if we think
okay.
about that.
Yep.
Solomon recognizes that a king is coming who will open the gate of the Garden of Eden. So this song contributes to that hope.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking just the Genesis, where it talks about being united in this one,
Mhm.
which this sort of, I guess,
Mhm.
would reflect that as well. So it's talking
Yeah.
about it's talking about an exclusive relationship between this man and.
Yeah. So if we think about the shepherd becoming the king, and delighting in his bride, Like there's language in here that evokes a lot of the Old Testament language of God and his people. His people are his bride, and then that points to Christ and the church. What is the end of the Bible point to? Is a wedding.
Yes.
Where Jesus comes and takes his bride. And so it actually points to our eternity, where we're going to be delighting with our groom forever, in that relationship. So it does contribute to our hope that, our long-term future is to delight in the Lord,
Yes.
in the way that this couple delight in each other. But it also, is instructive for us in our marriages to think about sex positively, to teach it positively to the young people, and say, the world tells you that what the world has a picture about sex, but the Bible's picture of sex is amazing. It's really special. It's precious and it's beautiful, and it comes in this special package. And you tarnish it if you take it out of that package. So there's lots of
And trying to put it in the time of when it was written, the equality between the man and the woman may have been very much lost in the Jewish tradition, where
And just in human,
just
humans
in general.
but if the Bible hadn't had this, then, would the image of Christ and his bride, the church, been as effective? Because we may have judged it by the way our human fallenness has, done relationship, but this is now showing us it is an ideal and it is a beautiful image, the way it was meant to be.
Couldn't you go Adam and Eve in the garden before the fall? That's right. So
Yeah.
Adam being the first man, Eve first one, and then reflect that in our own lives.
Yeah. And if we think about the whole story of creation, that wedding in the Garden of Eden, Adam and Eve, points to the wedding at the end. And so really, if we think about it in a biblical theology sense, it actually does contribute to that hope. It gives us a picture of what does it look like to delight in your bride or in your husband, in your groom. Like, what does it look like to be delighted?
The ideal. Something you strive towards, but may not necessarily get there.
Yeah, that's right. Anyone got any other thoughts or
I
questions?
always reading it as poetry. I think it's
I mean, and just as poetry,
similar to some of the Psalms or even Proverbs, things like that.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. It is poetry. It's not a narrative. It's not like, and so poetry definitely lends itself to all sorts of different interpretations. Like we read Shakespeare or we read, Tennyson, and people come up with all different things that.
And you might yourself, if you read it a few times, you might come up with something different every time you read just something else that
It
stands
just reminded me that, a long time ago, so 30 years ago, in the school certificate, I think it was, there was a question about something written by an Australian author. He went and failed that. If he was given it, and he went and failed because he knew what he intended doing with that bit, and the people reading it thought he intended to do something or other else. So I mean, he didn't sit the school certificate himself, but he did the question and failed it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that with the Bible, we have the rest of the Bible to help us understand it. So how does the rest of the Bible help us understand Song of Songs? Because it works both ways. How does Song of Songs help us understand the rest of the Bible, and how does the rest of the Bible help us understand Song of Songs?
well, there isn't a lot in the rest of the Bible that gives you this sort of image of this marriage and the personal relationship. I mean, Paul Paul sort of said, you know, it'd be really good if you could stay single.
Mhm.
So this is kind of counteracting that to say that, you know, God still thinks that this is the ideal.
There is quite a bit of like metaphor though in terms of a husband and wife sort of relationship in Old Testament. Like you've got Hosea, you've got Ezekiel, where it's the opposite. Hey, Ruth. Where you've got Israel being the wife that runs away and has affairs with other nations.
Yes.
And so yeah, it seems to be an ongoing theme in Old Testament.
Absolutely.
And even to
Yeah.
the New Testament when you get to new creation of the wedding between Christ and the church. So yeah, it's really cool that there's an entire book that's dedicated to that, the light of that.
Yeah, because it is a counter to the condemnation that he runs all the way through the Bible of the Israel is the unfaithful wife.
Yeah.
And this points to, well, actually one day there is going to be a faithful wife. Yeah. So that's good too. Like it gives us hope that we're not going to always want to run after other gods. We'll be unfaithful to our God.
Did I miss out on the Song of Songs?
You missed out.
you missed it all.
Is there anything you want to comment or ask?
Well, I just want to know as to, you know, is it Song of Songs where they talk about the nose of a woman? I'm
Yes.
thinking- Oh, you already talked about that.
No, we actually didn't.
No,
We
no,
talked about the
we haven't got
images.
onto the
Yeah, I
notes.
was trying to
used
work out what on earth is that supposed to. I know a friend of mine used to play it up, but
It's very interesting that the images that they use to describe each other are actually based on like fruitfulness in the land and pictures of the land, because that the promised land is really significant for Israel, and so that using pictures of the land or you know, goats running up and down a mountain or things like that actually reflects, you know, what's important to the authors. So using images of the land actually enforces a little bit more this idea that this is about God talking to his people. But, you know, these are things that they would have understood, like, you know, a flock of goats running up and down the mountain looks like blowing hair, like, I don't know, like, or the Tower of David, like that was a prominent, you know, important feature in Jerusalem, the time of Solomon. And it would have been, you know, the highest point and, you know, looked at as being really special. So the
Yes,
fact that
okay.
your nose is like that makes you special.
No,
you
it's,
know, like
it's the neck. It's the neck that's like
your neck.
that.
Yeah.
Your neck is like the Tower of David,
There you go.
built with courses of stone or what's been.
Yeah. So yeah, I think it's just reflecting the things that are important to the author, which are these features of Jerusalem and the land that are, you know, showing God's blessing, really. So this theme of blessing is running through just the descriptions of who they are. Yeah, I don't know. Any other thoughts? Like, I think, yeah, because culturally we don't, that's not how we describe people, or their eyes or their hair. But we use images that are more familiar to us. Yeah.
and was it all Solomon? I mean, I know that they talk about various people, but is it really all Solomon? It's you know, reflecting in some sort of, you know, bipolar way.
Well, we kind of did have a bit of a discussion about that, in that the song seems to put Solomon right in the middle at the wedding, whether he's coming to see the wedding of this, you know, special couple, or if it turns out that actually he was a shepherd in disguise and now he's the king and he's come to collect his bride. that's one interpretation of it. So, yeah,
Well, I
it's
guess-
ambiguous, and I
Well,
think it's ambiguous for a reason. So it sparks our imaginations to think about, think about God and the way that he relates to his people, maybe.
I mean, and sorry if I'm going over stuff that we've already covered, and I'm sorry, mate, but reflecting on the Song of Songs, is it the intent that we acknowledge God understanding our passions, our insides, our reflective thought, and that's the reason why it's in here, because it highlights that, you know, we're made in his image, so therefore don't be surprised that God actually understands aspects of our being, and therefore we can connect in some way, because it really is an odd book. But it's you know, share it with your teenagers. Fun stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's in the category of wisdom literature, so we're meant to meditate on those sorts of things.
Okay, so wisdom and reflective thought, is that how I'm trying to understand? Okay.
Might encourage your kids to read the Bible. Say, you tell them, don't read this, whatever you do.
I see Book of Judges is another one where I'd be saying, well, that's an interesting book. You know, likewise, you know, this is an interesting book, and you're sort of thinking, we then opening up the fact that we really have a complex God that really does understand his being realised. And I'm still trying to draw the connection with wisdom, but you know.
I think I said I had to put it somewhere.
That's the, you know.
Well,
I think
okay, God, when they got together, God's got it into everybody's minds and said, yeah, it's got to go in there.
yeah, okay, yeah.
But I just saw it as a counterbalance to the equality between the man and the woman, which probably wasn't happening in Israel at that time. The man was very much the dominant person, and the woman was the subservient one. Because wasn't it that only men could go into the temple? The women had to be outside, or in a special place for the women?
They did have segregated areas in the temple, but women were allowed in.
Right.
But they did have segregated.
That's in a lot of religions.
I mean, it's interesting because I've likewise have heard some various talks about the Song of Songs, and the angle that I had heard was that no, Solomon, you know, is a bloke with 700 wives, 300 concubines, doesn't have the clue, and he's confronted by this woman that's feisty that tells him, no, I'm not really interested in you. My interest is elsewhere, and you are the king, however. And Solomon had to work out, well, how do I then manage this issue? And I thought, oh, okay, that's interesting.
That's an interesting take.
Yeah.
Because I think that wasn't reflected in the notes somewhere, or did I know I read something like that when I was preparing. I can't remember where I read it now, but this idea that Solomon is there only because she rejected him. And she only has eyes for her shepherd, not the king, who also desires her.
Very courageous.
I think lots of people think differently, and because it's poetry, it can be interpreted in a lot of different ways. And as we were saying before, we need to look at the rest of the Bible and see how the rest of the Bible talks about all those different things, and then how we can understand it from what the rest of the Bible says.
But does that then open up, and I'm sorry if I'm taking too much time, but does that then open up an avenue? Obviously it's discourse that man can have with God, but laying out your case and feeling as though you can get away with it in a way that, you know, you think that, you know, there's logic behind what you're doing. You haven't taken your eyes off God. However, it's not that straightforward in presenting an issue or in dealing with a matter or what have you. What am I saying? I guess I'm trying to understand. Poetry does my head in. It's first to say that, but I'm trying to which angle do you sort of come at and therefore have a
Mm.
suitable position
Yeah.
on how to understand wisdom / poetry /
Yeah.
this
I
sort of
like
thing.
your take, reminding us that this is all about this perfect relationship, and a marriage, and of course, Revelation is all about the marriage and Jesus as the groom.
Mm.
So that kind of links it through the Bible.
Mm.
So you've got the perfect relationship in Genesis, it all falls apart. You've got this reminder of what it should be,
Mm.
and then in Revelation, it comes to be.
Mm.
I like that. That's makes a lot of sense to me.
But I don't think there's any set way to read it, though. It's just,
No.
it's poetry, allegory, and you can read it different times, different places, and get something different out of it each time. Not this, but you're looking for a formula, so it was an
Yeah.
Well,
important you can do that.
it does sort of. Sometimes I like to be black and white because it makes it easier.
Yes, it does, doesn't it? I'm a bit like that as well.
And,
Yeah.
you know, and so therefore, when someone says to me, you know, it's an allegory, then I hear other arguments saying, well, doesn't that sort of reflect the whole scripture? And I'm going, no, go and read the book of Acts. That is not an allegory. That is an actual account of someone's journey.
It's history.
Yeah.
And that's history.
That's right.
Absolutely. So therefore, you know.
Yeah. I mean, I think that with poetry, we can tend to allegorize it more because that lends itself to being allegorized because it's a poetic way. But yeah.
And in different stages of life, Song of Songs will mean totally different things.
Yeah.
When I
Oh.
reflect back on my marriage and think, didn't quite get it right. Or
I
Tom.
think there's also this refrain all the way through. Don't wait to the appropriate moment for love and expression of love. Like, you know, so there's this refrain all the way through that is guiding people to look at marriage as the way God intended it to be. And so it is again a picture for our world of what God intends for marriage. Like, because people look at Christians and go, you know, that's got to be boring as, like, you know, like.
How can you just be with one person for the whole of your life?
Yeah,
Get the
yeah, exactly. And so God paints this picture of that this is actually really good. It's abundant and it's going to be a blessing. That's how I designed it. And if you look outside of that, then you're not going to get the joy and the abundance and the blessing that is designed for this one purpose.
But it's not a blueprint how to get there. It's just.
No.
So that's
It's an expression of,
you should
yeah,
work towards
what it,
it.
yeah. Okay, well, we're going to have to move on to Ruth.
Straightforward, right?
It is a
Well,
little bit more straightforward. It is very different, and I feel
Straightforward.
Oh, no, not now we've got it here.
not haven't put it with, like, I actually think it's much more like Esther.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah,
But it's an.
I have an argument with Barry Webb at the end when we ask why is it in wisdom literature, but yeah, I wouldn't have put it with Ruth. I would have put it. I mean, not Song of Songs.
Yeah.
Song of Songs is like separate. I would have probably put Song of Songs with Ecclesiastes more than with Ruth.
Well, he's just pulling out that love relationship.
Yeah,
really,
and yeah,
rather
and that's
than
my
rest.
question.
Yeah,
Is
that
actually that
really
what
the important
is
bit?
Ruth about?
Mm.
No. So let's have a look. I think that we do need background to understand Ruth, and so I've got some background readings here. I don't think we've got time for everyone to read all of them, but yeah. Briefly, Genesis 38 is the story of Judah and Tamar, which is the ancestor of Boaz and Ruth. But there's also, like, in Ruth, we get the application of levirate marriage. And in Genesis, it's badly done. In Ruth, it's properly done. So Genesis 38, I've put there to read because it actually gives you the history of Judah's line, where his line comes from. And when they say, may your children be like, I can't even remember the names of the kids, but like Judah's son.
Oh, yeah.
That yeah, so that's background. Judges 21-25, just so that we know that actually we are in the time of the judges.
Yeah.
And what's going on in the time of judges? Everyone is doing what is right in their own
Oh.
eyes, and there was no king.
Right.
Now, we nearly always read Ruth in the context of Judges because that's where it is in our Bibles. So I think that we have that context like under our belt, and so we need to shift our thinking when we're looking at Ruth in terms of, well, what if it, because it's in wisdom literature, we need to read it in the light of Proverbs and songs. Often in the Hebrew Bible, depending on which version, it comes almost straight after Proverbs. So you read Proverbs 31 and then you read Ruth. But it's not always. There's a few different configurations of the wisdom literature depending on which Hebrew Bible you look at. But sometimes Ruth comes straight after Proverbs. And then these Deuteronomy, some laws from Deuteronomy. One is about levirate marriage. That's chapter 25, I think. But I think we'll read the Deuteronomy ones. Someone read 23:3-5.
Okay.
Someone read 24:19-21, and someone read 25:5-10.
So this is the first one, Deuteronomy 23:3. No Ammonite or Moabite or any of their descendants may enter the assembly of the Lord, not even in the 10th generation. For they did not come to meet you with bread and water on your way when you came out of Egypt, and they hired Balaam, son of Beor, from Pethor in Aram, to pronounce a curse on you. However, the Lord your God would not listen to Balaam, but turned the curse into a blessing for you, because the Lord your God loves you. Do not seek a treaty of friendship with them as long as you live.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah. 24.
When you are harvesting in your field and you overlook a sheaf, do not go back and get it, but get it. Leave it for the foreigner, the fatherless, and the widow, so that the Lord your God may bless you in all the work of your hands.
Okay.
You want me to keep going? Sorry, it's 20.
19-21.
Yeah. When you beat the olives from your trees, do not go over the branches a second time. Leave what remains for the foreigner, the fatherless, and the widow. When you harvest the grapes in your vineyard, do not go over the vines again. Leave what remains for the foreigner, fatherless, and the widow.
Okay. Very clear. Okay. 25:5-10.
I could do it. Right. If brothers are living together and one of them dies without a son, his widow must not marry outside the family. Her husband's brother shall take her and marry her and fulfill the duty of a brother-in-law to her. The first son she bears shall carry on the name of the dead brother, so that his name will not be blotted out from Israel. However, if a man does not want to marry his brother's wife, she shall go to the elders at the town gate and say, my husband's brother refuses to carry on his brother's name in Israel. He will not fulfill the duty of a brother-in-law to me. Then the elders of his town shall summon him and talk to him. If he persists in saying, I do not want to marry her, his brother's widow shall go up to him in the presence of the elders, take off one of his sandals, spit in his face, and say, this is what is done to the man who will not build up his brother's family line. That man's line shall be known in Israel as the family of the unsandaled.
Okay. So just think about like that gives us what the legal requirements are. And if someone doesn't actually want to fulfill those requirements, it's actually dishonorable. They are dishonored. And that removal of the sandal is a dishonor. So we need to keep that in mind when we're thinking about Ruth, which is why, the relative, the unnamed relative who chooses not to, we're told, he takes his sandal off. They don't go through the whole ceremony, but that's not a good thing. It's a bad thing. Yeah. Okay, so that's some background. I think that all of those passages help us understand Ruth better, so that we know where we're at with when we get there. Again, Ruth is got a bit of a chiastic structure, and we see at the beginning is matched by the end. Can have a look at that. I will send it to you, so you don't need to write it all down, but it's just a picture of, we get this reversal, really. So, in Ruth chapter 1, verse 14, and then in 16 and 17, that's the famous passage. Remember, I said, think about that word cling. In Ruth chapter 1, verse 14, Ruth clings to Naomi. And then in 16 and 17, she says the famous words, which are...
What I was questioning though is the fact that they were told not to marry Moabite women, and they did. Yeah. So
so background is really important. The beginning of Ruth is quite interesting because it paints this picture of a family from Israel leaving the promised land, leaving the good things. Like Jerusalem means house of bread. And then they leave to go to Moab, who refused to give bread to Israel for their, to escape this famine. But what do they find in Moab? Death. Death. Like at the beginning, all we see is death. Like hunger, death, leaving the land, like all of that is painting a picture for us.
So they were there 10 years.
Yeah, so there's death and emptiness at the beginning.
So is that, I mean, there's two views that you can have. It's a punishment for their decision making.
yeah.
Or is it a bigger picture that no, God has a bigger plan in place, and sometimes bad things happen to good people. I said his people, obviously.
It's a teaching moment.
Like I think, yes, both. So when we look at what Ruth is doing here, after all of that loss, what is she effectively doing by clinging to Naomi?
She's leaving her family, her people, her country to go to a place, Israel, which probably won't accept her.
But she's already accepted God herself. She's done that herself before.
So that same word cling is also used in Joshua. Do you want to have a look, someone look up those passages? It's exactly the same word.
Helps if you look in Joshua rather than Judges.
Yeah, Judges won't help you.
No, it doesn't even go up to 22.
Hold fast.
I got 22:5.
Okay, yep.
But be very careful to keep the commandment and the law that Moses, the servant of the Lord, gave you, to love the Lord your God, to walk in obedience to him, to keep his commands, to hold fast to him, to serve him with all your heart and with all your soul.
Okay, so the word is translated hold fast in that version. It's translated cling in ESV.
Yeah.
23:8.
But you are to hold fast to the Lord your God as you have until now.
Mm.
So that's Joshua's farewell to the
Yeah.
leaders.
So at the beginning of Joshua, God is saying, you hold fast to me. And then at the end, it's Joshua saying to people, hold fast to God.
Yeah.
So when we use the same word here as was used in the garden and used about God, what is Ruth effectively doing when she's clinging to Naomi?
Clinging to God.
Clinging to
God.
Naomi's God.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does that mean that is there an interpretation that you can have that she realised the place that she was leaving was a place that she saw no future?
I think so.
And
Or her
whereas
husband.
whatever else.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of this, there is no hope for these women, really, because there is no other son to give children. So yeah, if Ruth went back, she'd have to go back to her family, her father's house. But it's interesting because she leaves her father's house and she leaves her country. Where have we heard that language before?
Abraham.
Yeah. So God said to Abraham, leave your father's house and your country and your kinsmen and go to the land I will show you. So Ruth is being put here in the light of similar to Abraham.
Yeah.
That she's made this decision to cleave to the God of Naomi. And I mean, I don't know what she's heard because Naomi and her family don't seem like they've obeyed God's word very well. And yet she's like, no, I'm all in with this person. Like, I'm all in with this God.
But trying to believe
Yeah.
in God is not just for Israelites, it's for everyone.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Sorry, I've now forgotten who the Moabites were descended from.
I could have given you that as background reading to
Ishmael?
Lot.
Lot. Okay.
Yes.
Right.
Lot
So it's sort of
and
an
his daughters that incestuously.
Okay.
Are they the city for Abraham's the country?
Yeah, well, Lot and his daughters grew up in Sodom and Gomorrah. So their picture of marriage and sex wasn't great. And they decided that they wanted to have children, and obviously there were no other men anywhere. And so they chose their dad.
Yeah.
And got him drunk.
And
so that's where the Moabites come from.
Right.
But they are like related to Israel. And so when God takes Israel through Moab, they don't make war against Moab. Moab isn't part of the promised land. But they're hostile to Israel, which is why in Deuteronomy, God says, they didn't give you bread. They tried to curse you.
Yes.
They seduced you. So therefore, don't have anything to do with them.
Yeah.
But here we have a Moabite woman in the time of the judges where Israel is really unfaithful and she is clinging. She's the faithful one. Yeah.
Is Naomi painted well at any stage in this? Because
Naomi is like, it's almost like she's like the thermometer of what's going on.
Yeah.
Like she starts out, she's like, because she doesn't make the decision to go, it's her husband. She makes the decision to come back. And I think that's really an interesting point, isn't it? When you look at verse 21 in chapter 1, it says, I went away full, but the Lord has brought me back, but empty.
Yeah. And just the verse before, call me Mara, because the Almighty has made my life very bitter.
Yeah, so it's like she's the one where
She's
we
almost
see the
taking the blame.
temperature of what's going on. yeah, she makes the decision to go back, which is a good thing, I think.
Yes.
I think the text shows us that actually to go back from Moab is a very good thing. To go back to Israel. So because outside of the land, outside of Israel is death.
One thing, she's got a bit of land to sell.
Hmm.
So they didn't sell it before they left.
No,
So she's got property back.
she does have
property
back
back
there.
there.
But I mean, it probably did go to like while they were away.
Someone,
Other people were probably looking after
yeah,
it.
yes. So, but she had something there that she could do
Yeah.
something with, I guess.
Mm.
Yeah. She had a stake in Israel.
She did.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not one that my son's cooking tonight.
Yeah. And so they do go back. So let's look at chapter 2, verse 11 and 12. Someone, when you read it out? This is
Boaz.
Mm.
Yeah, what's he answering to? She spoke to him. Why have I found such favour in your eyes that you notice a foreigner? Boaz replied, I have been told all about what you have done for your mother-in-law since the death of your husband, how you left your father and mother and your homeland and came to live with a people you did not know before. May the Lord repay you for what you have done. May you be richly rewarded by the Lord, the God of Israel, under whose wings you have come to take refuge.
So why is she commended so highly by Boaz?
For the life that she's leading, the way that she's looked after her mother-in-law.
Mm. Yeah. So it's not just her care of her mother-in-law though that's involved, is it? It's that she's actually left,
Her gods, her.
left
people.
to take refuge in God.
Yeah.
So what does he mean when he says she's taken refuge under the wings of the Lord, the God of Israel?
Just think of those Psalms where you take refuge under the
Mhm.
wings of the eagle, or
Mhm.
she's committed her life to God,
Mm.
The Israel God.
the Israel
Yeah.
God. I had a capital G, didn't you hear it?
It goes all the way back to the promise given to Abraham.
Mhm.
You know, that you'll be a father of
Mhm.
many people,
Mhm.
nations.
I'm trying to think about what the image of the being under the wings of God of Israel looks like and where does it come from. I've actually given you the picture of where does it come from, because it doesn't come from the Psalms, it comes from the law.
Is that the idea of marriage? So
Nothing to do with
I'm
marriage.
sorry, I'm thinking Boaz and Ruth.
Yeah.
His cloak.
Yes.
Mm.
Now that is the same picture that she's going to carry forward in chapter 3, verse 9. But what's the picture that we're talking about? Does someone want to look up Exodus 19:4 and someone else look up Deuteronomy 32:10 to 13?
I can do 19:4.
Sure.
You yourselves have seen what I did to the Egyptians, and how I bore you on eagle's wings and brought you to myself.
Mm-hmm.
Reminds me of Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, well, I think Tolkien probably used this image.
Yeah.
32.
In the desert land, he found him. In a barren land, howling waste. He shielded him and cared for him. He guarded him as the apple of his eye. Like an eagle that stirs up its nest and hovers over its young, that spreads its wings to catch them and carries them aloft. The Lord alone. Is that two? Sorry.
Okay, I think it's to 13, yeah.
Okay. The Lord alone led him. No foreign god was with him. He made him ride on the heights of the land and fed him with the fruits of the fields. He nourished him with honey from the rock and with oil from the flinty crag.
So in the law, in Exodus and Deuteronomy, that picture of the wings and the eagle, what is it telling us about God?
He's protecting his people.
Mm-hmm.
He's trustworthy.
Mm-hmm.
You can take refuge in him.
Mhm. Yeah.
He's got a strength as well.
Mhm. Yeah.
But he sort of, I think, pushes the people, you know, that image of the eagle pushing the young out of the nest, but then catching it. It's,
Mm.
you know, all going to be simple protection. Sometimes there will be danger.
Yeah.
But God does it for a purpose to
Yeah.
teach us what he's like.
Unlike the Allianz ad.
I don't watch ads.
You've got the tiny little bird with the egg in the storm, and he falls to the ground. The bird picks it up in the rain and is trying to hold on to it, and it keeps slipping, and then this eagle comes past him,
Carries it.
carries it to the nest.
Oh,
With the
Yeah, I
egg
have
in the
seen
nest.
it.
It's just this. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, but it's the eagle that carries it, right?
Yeah,
So
exactly.
yeah.
The eagle saves this little bird and its
Yeah.
egg.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go, it's very biblical.
So that is a very biblical picture, interestingly.
It's bad insurance company.
Yeah.
It's not
My
intentional.
son used to
sure.
work for Allianz.
Both
Both both places, UK and Australia.
Yeah, so it's a picture of God's salvation for his people. Where can God's people find refuge in God? And so, as someone just said, in chapter 3, verse 9, what does Ruth say to Boaz? Now, he says to her, you have taken refuge under God's wings. And then what does she say to him?
I am your servant Ruth. Spread the corner of your garment over me, since you are a guardian redeemer of our family. Is that the one you wanted?
Yeah. Yeah, so the corner of the garment is actually the same phrase in Hebrew as the wings. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's the same picture, but she's actually saying,
Protect me.
yeah, I'm trusting in God, but in his provision, you're the one that I need to come under.
And she's following her mother-in-law's instructions
Yes.
with that.
Mhm.
So her mother-in-law has thought that one out very carefully.
Yeah.
As
Yeah.
far as using the phrase, you know, it fits in biblically.
Mm.
And Boaz, we know, is very,
aware of
Israel.
mother-in-laws.
Yeah, it's taking a bit of initiative here, so it's a bit like songs.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
But she knows Boaz to be man's.
Yes, I think I'll
He's
get onto that.
bit of
I
a
think I've got a
catch.
question about that in a bit. But yeah, so there's this picture of Ruth taking refuge in God, but at the same time, she's depending on God, but the provisions of God's law actually are
Protect her.
part of protecting her.
Yeah.
And so what are things that Boaz does in following God's law that help protect her?
Okay, well, he's got to look after, first of all, he's an Israelite of good standing. He's got to look after the widow and the
And
those
so how does he do that?
fatherless. Well, first of all, provides food for them.
Yeah, he does what we read in Deuteronomy.
Make sure
he
he leaves some.
He leaves enough for people to be able to glean in his fields.
He even goes and says, leave
Or to actually take out stuff
Yes.
and drop it for her. Yeah.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
he knows that in God's law, it is the closest relative that has
Mhm.
the
Precedence.
say
Yeah.
in who Ruth marries.
Yeah.
So he actually goes to the elders and says, you know, if this guy doesn't want Ruth, then I will.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think he did it in a sneaky way though, so. Because the lad, you know, the guy didn't want to do it.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's a
Well,
bloky reason. She was a damsel, but he was very keen on.
Yeah.
Had
See,
great
I
family lives and.
think, see, I think we get a bit carried away with that whole love story, but it's not actually part of the text. Yeah.
It's a very practical.
Yeah.
Well, the text doesn't actually talk about like when,
She hasn't
we'll get
got,
on
we
to
don't
it.
know what colour eyes she had or he had either, or whether his limbs were like bronze.
Unlike Song of Songs, there's no physical description here.
Although
It's all about character
And
and
she puts herself at the end of his bed,
yeah.
and you think, mate, and that's a cultural.
She made her intentions known,
Mm.
what she wanted to have.
Well, yeah, but she was also following the instructions from her
Mother-in-law.
and this is, you know, and she's also at the same time putting herself under the laws of Israel. Like, she's submitting to what God says is the right thing to do. Which is really interesting because most Israelites didn't seem to do that in the time of Judges.
Well, obviously the closest relative didn't.
No, he was,
Yes.
what is it, protecting his,
He was protecting
protecting-
his
and the notes said
land
he
and
would-
his rights.
he would, it
Hmm.
also, the notes said that he would have had to feed her.
Yeah.
For a start, look after her, so he's going to lose out financially.
And her firstborn.
And her firstborn one is raise him up and then lose that bit of land that he's.
Yeah, because it'll go to him.
Yeah.
Mm.
So in essence, buying that land himself is actually not an investment in his own future. It's actually he's caring for her in buying that land, and for the son who isn't even actually going to be acknowledged as his son. It's going to be the son of the other relative. So yeah.
Which brings up another question.
Mhm.
So the firstborn, Perez,
Mhm.
is acknowledged as a son of
Judah.
On that line. Okay, was Elimelech a descendant of Judah? I guess he was because he came from Judah. So I'm just trying to figure out that family line of Jesus when it goes
Yeah,
back
yeah.
through.
The genealogy at the end gives you the family line, and it's echoed in Matthew chapter 1, verse
Yes.
5. And
So he's Boaz
Chronicles.
is sorry, it's not Perez. Boaz
Perez is the first one,
Yeah.
and that's from Genesis 38.
Yes, okay. So, but Boaz is the father of Obed, the father of Jesse, the
Yeah.
father of David. So,
So
he's-
Obed is the son.
Yes, okay, sorry.
that,
yeah, but he's still Obed inherits that bit of land.
yeah,
It was
Eventually.
Elimelech's.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, and so
he actually owed
rightfully,
his father.
rightfully.
it should say Ahimelech.
Mm.
Obed is the son of Ahimelech.
Or his or whichever husband, which of his sons,
Yeah,
Mahlon,
we
whichever.
don't know which one it was actually.
No.
Because we're not told which one she married.
No.
But it kind of goes back to Elimelech.
Yeah.
And Elimelech actually isn't named in the genealogy, but Boaz is, interestingly.
Yes.
So I think the Bible turns on its head this idea of kinship.
Yeah.
Because he does the right thing.
Yes. Yeah.
And the unnamed guy, he's gone. Like he doesn't get a mention at all.
No.
And yet Boaz is now in the line of King David and Jesus.
Yes.
So yeah, by submitting themselves to the law and doing what God says is good and right, he gives them blessing. So there's this echo of what kind of things that we see in Proverbs,
Yeah.
right? That, you know, when you do what God says is the right thing to do, then the fruit of that is yeah. So there's this reversal of expectation.
And what are they going to do?
And then from 6 to 22, the main word that's repeated is
Go back.
what I've got circled the most.
Daughters-in-law,
Mm.
daughters.
Return, actually. Return. Return. 1, 2, 3, 4. Turn back. 6, 7, I think it's repeated about 10, at least 10 times. So there's death and then returning.
Yes. How do we survive
Yeah.
into, what's the word then?
And so what about chapter 2 and 3? Well, chapter 2, anything stand out particularly?
Fields.
Fields, yeah.
Harvests.
Glean.
Yeah. Yeah, harvesting and glean. Like there's this image of fullness, right? And bounty and like reaping and yeah.
And she could provide enough for her mother-in-law as well as herself.
So there's
She took a doggy bag home at one
Yeah.
stage.
it takes a few doggy bags home. Then what about chapter 3?
It's interesting in chapter 1, she's referred to more often as Ruth. But in chapter 2, I think it's almost to up the ante. She's constantly referred to as Ruth the Moabite to kind of
Yeah, so
make
when
her stand out.
she leaves Moab,
Yeah.
it's
She's identified.
like she's every other time, like after she leaves Moab and comes into Israel, she's Ruth the Moabite. Yeah, and that is definitely repeated all the way until she marries Boaz, and then she's Ruth again.
Just so that the people who hear the story know that she was an outsider.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and a Moabite. Like the
Yeah.
Moabites were not. I mean, they weren't supposed to.
Yeah.
Marry them.
And okay, so we can see that God takes in all sorts of people, whether they don't have to just belong to his team, particularly the team that's stuck.
Yeah, except the thing with Ruth and the thing with Rahab, she might have been a Moabite, but who did she trust in? God.
Yes.
Rahab might have been a prostitute, Canaanite, but who did she trust in? God.
Yeah.
And so it's not necessarily about their race, but
No.
about who they're trusting
Yes.
at the time. And so Moabites were characterized, and if you wanted to marry a Moabite who was living in Moab, that would have been wrong.
Yeah.
Which is what
this whole
this family ended up doing. They went and they married Moabite women, so that wasn't right. But one of these Moabite women has now become a follower of the Lord. So she's brought in, even though the law says you're not to marry him, but she is brought in.
Yes.
And in 3 and 4,
There's a lot of guardian redeemer.
Redeemer, yeah, I've got Redeemer circled so many times in both chapter 3 and 4. So we've got death, returning, fruitful fields, and then redemption. And then right at the end, I think, there's still blessing, restoration. So what are the big picture themes that we get? What are the reversals? You said before there's a lot of reversals. What are the reversals that we get in Ruth?
From famine to fruitfulness.
Famine to fruitfulness, yeah.
We've got death to life.
Death to life, yeah.
You've also got no future to a future which then ends with the line, the line to David.
Yeah.
Being restored.
Restored, redeemed, yeah. So destitute to redeemed.
And there we are. Naomi, the women said to Naomi, praise be to the Lord who this day has not left you without a guardian redeemer. For your daughter-in-law who loves you and is better to you than 7 sons has given in birth. So she's now got something to concentrate.
Yeah.
She's
So
got
she's got
a baby.
Arms.
Yes.
Yeah. So she came back empty, but now her lap and her arms are full.
Yeah.
So emptiness to fullness, famine to plenty, destitute to redeemed, cursed to blessing, enemies to beloved bride.
Yes. And we don't know whether this baby became famous throughout Israel and to renew her strength and sustain you in your old age, but certainly God was looking after them. And
But we do know that his son,
yeah,
his grandson, became famous in Israel. So I think
Yes.
that when they pronounce a blessing like that, they don't necessarily expect to see it immediately.
No, but anyway, he's,
they know.
we're just looking
that-
at that. These are the women talking.
Mm.
He will renew your life, and so at that one point, God has renewed her life because she's now she's now in Boaz's family.
Yeah.
As well as being a grandma.
Which I guess too, that if this is during the period of the judges,
Yeah.
it's about changing a mindset that Israel had, wandered off.
Yeah.
And it's now being demonstrated. It's actually a blueprint for how Israel can be
Mm.
through being obedient.
Yeah, there's a redemption. Yeah. But it does show us the costliness of redemption. Like the unnamed Israelite redeemer, he didn't want to bear that cost. It is a cost. But Boaz does bear the cost.
And he does it by fulfilling the law in a sense.
Yes.
And he gives that kinsman an opportunity
Yeah.
just to make sure everything was above board.
Yeah. And so it's interesting. I think Boaz redeems even Judah's whole family line, in that when Judah was in the similar situation where his sons were getting offspring and they were dying, he didn't do the right thing. But now he's a descendant of Judah who is faithfully doing the right thing, trusting God. So that's an interesting thing. I'll give you a quote. Boaz arrives as an unexpected redeemer from the line of Judah, who righteously takes a Gentile bride through whom the seed is raised up. So there we have a picture. So this isn't an allegory. It's history. It's a real history, but there's a picture of what God is going to do through his seed. Yeah.
You can see why it has been put in our Bible after Judges and before 1 Samuel.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So, question: is it Ruth love story?
Well, I think it can be.
Well, it's God's love story.
Yes.
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 Well, yeah. I mean, if we look at the language, the only time love is mentioned is Naomi, Ruth's love for Naomi. So if it's a love story, it's not necessarily about Ruth and Boaz. I think it's about maybe Ruth and God.
Okay. Boaz has developed a relationship with Ruth.
Yeah.
The other guy probably hardly knows her.
Yeah.
Okay. So Boaz did love her. He wouldn't have bothered doing all of this.
Well, he was. I mean, we get this picture of him being a very faithful Israelite.
Yes.
And I mean,
he was very calculating in how to
yeah.
get the,
I think
he had to go through the motions, I think, but he made the story up so the other kinsmen.
God doesn't make it too hard for his people.
Yeah, no,
It's a blessing.
I'm not saying that I don't think that there's love there, but the Bible actually does. That's not what it's highlighting. The relationship with Boaz and Ruth isn't highlighted by love. It's highlighted by loving kindness, or hesed, which is God's faithful love to his people.
But you see that Ruth and Boaz are both following the law.
Yes.
In the build of this relationship. So they're using God's law to
Yes,
move forward in there.
yes. Yeah.
I mean, here's a bloke who is of high standing, having effectively a foreigner who would be seen in a context of, an enemy of this, people that have spent, countless years trying to find their chosen. And yet he looks at this woman and he marvels at what she does.
Yes. As
So,
a faithful follower of God.
yeah, that's true.
But we need to
So
remember
someone-
who his mother is.
Yes. And he
Who's his mother?
Boaz's mother.
That's the reality.
A really important person.
Okay, have we already mentioned her
Yeah.
today? Okay, so,
is she
still not the one from
your
Derek.
sister or something, is she?
Yeah, who's his mother?
Grandmother.
Who's his mother? The mother of
Oh, there's
Rebecca.
two women we've mentioned. I can't remember either of them.
Rahab.
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 Right, okay. Where do you find that one? Where's that?
That's in Matthew.
Okay. Because you
So
don't,
the Old
now that's
Testament
interesting that
doesn't
they
tell
kept.
But we get it in Matthew.
Seems too far back to be
But it's not.
mother.
Yeah,
Salmon
no,
was the father, or the salmon, the fish. Salmon was the father of Boaz, whose mother was Rahab.
It's
Boaz, the father of Obed, whose mother was Ruth. So we've got two foreigners just,
Mhm.
sorry.
So it makes a lot more sense.
Yes.
The way that Boaz treats Ruth, even though he's an upstanding Israelite.
And
His
he's-
mother was a Canaanite.
Yes.
But
Well,
the fact
there's
that
nothing-
he is an upstanding Israelite is remarkable, given that his mother was a prostitute.
Well, Salmon must have been a good man too.
Absolutely, yeah. What kind of man was Salmon? Like he was a man who,
Well, yeah.
yeah, well, someone like Hosea who he takes an unfavorable woman and makes him his wife. Like beautiful pictures.
God
So
takes anybody who turns to him.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So that helps us shed a bit more light on Boaz's character, but the fact that he is like, I think, why do we think that it's wisdom literature then?
The fear of the Lord, it's wisdom,
Mm,
and it's highlighting the fact that obedience to God
mm,
is one of the key fundamentals of
not who you know, is what you know.
mm.
But also, it's kind of another picture like Job. Here is a woman who has lost absolutely everything, is questioning God as Job does, but still obviously has this shred of faith in
Mm.
God that,
Yeah, because she knows if she goes back, then
yeah. So here we have again somebody who has everything taken away but remains faithful, and then God restores her.
Yes, you're right. Yeah.
And in the end, we see her with a child in her arms, and just her joy and her praise for God. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it gives you that that assurance that when things do go wrong, you have to cling to God.
Yes.
I'm a couple of chapters ahead, but it's talking about in Job, can we say why to God? And it says yes, you can. Yeah, and you're not faithful, but you can say, hey, why God? I don't understand.
He might not. His memo might not tell you.
No, of course not.
But it doesn't stop me from asking.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's what Naomi does.
Well, she
Like,
doesn't actually ask why,
Just
but she
say
does.
why, but
but
she acknowledges that it's God who's,
Yeah.
brought this
God
on
is
her.
in
It's made her
control.
bitter,
Yeah.
like it wasn't just,
Yeah.
also given up
So,
on him.
God is in
Yeah.
control of all
Yeah.
things in her life, and she will remain faithful despite the fact that she's got no.
Well, she may not
She
like
sees
it,
no
like,
future.
yeah.
Yeah, she sees no future in her. But God is.
Both Ruth and Boaz are called worthy. So if we read chapter 2, verse 1. Now Naomi had a relative of her husband's, a worthy man of the clan of Elimelech, whose name was Boaz. So the ESV translated worthy man. What does the NIV translate it as? Chapter 2, verse 1.
A man of
Standing.
standing.
A man of
Plan.
standing. Okay. And then in chapter 3, verse 11, Boaz says that Ruth, I will do all you ask, for all my fellow townsmen know that you are a worthy woman.
Or
woman of
what does
a noble
noble
character.
see a woman of noble character? Where have we heard that phrase before?
Chapter 31 of
Proverbs. A woman of noble character. And so actually, the word is of valor, of value, of great value, or of valor as in valiant. And so he's a man of valor and she's a woman of valor. So what makes them worthy? Why are they called worthy? Why are they worthy? What makes them worthy?
It's both God fear.
Yeah. I think it's the fear of the Lord. So I think this helps us understand why we can see that this is wisdom literature. If we're not looking at this book in the light of Judges, which obviously we're used to because it comes in our Bible straight after Judges, but if we read it straight after Proverbs, for example,
Yes.
what are the things that are going to be highlighted for us are these kind of words that stick in our mind: a woman of valor, or a noble wife, or an excellent, a woman of noble character. And we see a practical outworking of what does it look like. It looks like following the law. Boaz follows the law. We see different ways that in his life he does what the law says. And Ruth follows the law. She submits herself to those laws for her protection. And so she does what a widow is allowed to do in Israel, and that's glean in the field, because that's a provision of the law. And she trusts in God for her livelihood. And the way that God provides for her is through the law. So they embody God's wisdom in the way they trust God in dealing with others. We see love of God and love of neighbours in this. Boaz shows that he cares for the vulnerable in his community because he lets his fields be gleaned by them. Ruth shows that she cares for people because she looks after her mother-in-law. So it's like a parable of what it looks like to live in wisdom, and then we see what blessing comes from that. So if we read it in the light of Proverbs, it's like a practical outworking of Proverbs 31, which wasn't specifically about a particular woman, but I think Ruth is in view, especially when you look at some of the words, the words that are repeated in both passages. Boaz goes to the city gate, and Ruth is a woman of noble character, and there's a whole. She's industrious and she does all these things. So we get this picture that Ruth is almost like an embodiment of the Proverbs 31 woman. Anything else people want to?
Well, I'm sort of wondering, does that mean Solomon may have been thinking of Ruth when he
Maybe
penned those words?
His grandmother.
quite
Yeah.
possibly. Yeah. Anyway, we've gone well over time, so,
Thank you.
hopefully that will have helped us think more through those two different types of wisdom literature,
Yes.
which I've either neglected or overdone, I think. Ruth in women's circles tends to get overdone, and I think Song of Songs tends to get neglected. So it's good to have a look at them.
Okay. So it's Book of Job next week.
So next week is Job.
I won't be here, and I won't be here for Ecclesiastes and Lamentations either. So okay.
So just double check it.
Oh, that reminds me, but
Yes, okay.
next week,
Oh, yeah.
it's also,
Yeah.
Neville made,
Yeah, it is.
so how's that character?
Well, it's going to be at Glenbrook, so
Yeah.
we'll still meet here. It means that we will miss out on that, but
It
I
starts
do
at 2
feel
down
it
there.
starts at 2.
So you could probably go down and mingle
We can
later.
go down after if we try and keep it short and sweet.
2:30.
Okay. I will see what I can do with that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know that the afternoon tea is going to be super long. So
Is that the 24th you're talking?
No,
It's next week.
No, that's next week. The 24th, we are meeting in Glenbrook. So if we
Yeah.
did meet in Glenbrook next week, we could just go straight from one to the other.
So the 24th, we're meeting with them.
Yeah.
That might speed up the being able to get there.
yeah,
This would
I'd
be
be
safe.
happy to meet at Glenbrook. mean,
Be at church, so.
Yeah, so like I think
It's
it'll be,
actually easier for you if it is at Glenbrook.
Well-
Service leading too. so-
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you could get one.
I mean, I'm
Okay.
sure
back
there's.
rooms or somewhere.
2 weeks we will meet at Glenbrook.
Okay, yeah.
And according to
hang on.
this,
2 weeks' time is not our lift lunch, it's the 24th is the lunch here.
oh, okay.
So you can,
So next week,
10th and then 24th.
and
10th
then
and
the
24th,
And next week.
Okay. because I made a change and it sort of got, I didn't change it on the thing
Okay.
because
happy if we just say from here on, we'll just meet at Glenbrook.
yeah,
It probably makes it
It just,
consistent,
I
doesn't
mean,
it?
yeah.
How many more weeks?
Oh, except the Taylors might prefer it to be here.
We trained them for years to come down.
But yeah,
Yeah,
they used to always
so
come
it's-
down to us. Doesn't worry.
Say
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, they might hear what we're talking about.
Oh, you haven't turned that off yet.
We love you.
Yeah, I don't know how to turn off the video.
You just say stop recording, isn't there a?
Yeah, but
recording?
until the 24th.
Oh, okay.
Oh, so we could just be at Glenbrook for the next few weeks without
And we can talk to
disadvantaging them. Yeah. Can you, when you send out the email, can you just mention that to anybody who wasn't here on the email so they know?